I will never forget the first time I heard the voice. It was a stormy night, the kind of night when the wind howls as if carrying with it the souls of the damned. The rain was pounding on the windows with such force that it seemed to want to break the barrier between the outside world and my lonely existence in the mansion. I had recently moved into my uncle's house, and I was still exploring its nooks and crannies and secrets. The electricity had failed, and the only light came from the candles I had distributed around the foyer. It was then that I heard it, a barely audible whisper over the roar of the storm. At first, I thought it was my imagination, the product of isolation and the irrational fear that always arises in the dark. But the voice became clearer, more insistent. It came from the mirror. I approached, wary, and I could see my reflection distorting, as if the glass had become water and my image a ripple expanding into infinity. The voice was calling to me, a hypnotic melody that seduced me with promises of knowledge and power. "Alex," it whispered, "come and see what I have for you." Fear paralyzed me, but curiosity was stronger. I stood there, in front of the mirror, watching my reflection fade and give way to a darkness deeper than night itself. A darkness that seemed alive, breathing and writhing with an intention of its own. And then I saw it. Something was moving in that blackness, a figure slowly approaching the surface. It wasn't human, it couldn't be. The eyes looking at me from the other side were not eyes that belonged to this world. They were abysses in themselves, bottomless pits from which emanated an ancient despair and hunger. The figure smiled, and his smile was a collection of nightmares come true. Teeth sharp as knives, a mouth too big for its face, and a tongue that slithered between them like a snake in search of its prey. "Come," said the voice, now a guttural growl echoing in my head, "I'm waiting for you." The smile in the mirror widened, and a sinister laugh filled the room, drowning out the sound of the storm. The figure extended a hand toward me, and though I knew it was madness, I reached out mine to touch it. At that moment, the mirror became a vortex of shadows and I was drawn into it. I found myself in a hallway that did not belong to my home, nor to this world. The walls were covered with moss and candles burning with a bluish flame barely illuminated the way. The air was permeated with a smell of wet earth and something else, something sweet and unpleasant that I could not identify. I walked, guided by a force that was not my own, through a labyrinth of corridors that seemed to have no end. The voice followed me, whispering promises and secrets that only the dead know. "Closer," it said, "you're almost here." Finally, I came to a circular room with an altar in the center. On it lay an ancient book, its leather cover worn by time. The voice urged me to open it, and when I did, the words moved before my eyes, forming images of unimaginable horrors. Creatures writhing in the darkness, faces disfigured by pain, and a presence that watched from the shadows, waiting for its moment to enter our world. I felt a hand on my shoulder and turned to meet Luna. Her face was pale, her eyes reflected a terror that needed no words. "We have to go," she whispered, but the voice in the mirror laughed again. "There's no way out," he said, and the floor shook beneath our feet. The room began to spin, and the shadows rose like waves to pull us into the abyss. Luna and I struggled, desperately searching for a way out, but each door only led to more darkness, more despair. The smile of the abyss had engraved itself in my mind, an indelible mark that haunted me even in my waking moments. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her there, waiting for me. That night, we prepared to face the unknown. Luna had placed cameras and microphones around the lobby, all pointed toward the mirror. The storm had returned, as if nature itself wanted to witness our daring. "Are you sure you want to do this?" asked Luna, her voice barely audible over the roar of the wind. "Scared but sure," I replied, trying to infuse some humor into the situation, though my voice trembled. We sat in front of the mirror, and Luna began to recite an incantation in a language I didn't recognize. The air was charged with electricity, and the mirror began to vibrate, as if it were about to awaken from a long sleep. And then, the voice returned, louder than ever. "They have come," it said, and the mirror darkened to a window into nothingness. The figure appeared again, his smile wider, his eyes hungrier. "It's time for you to see what's behind the reflection," the voice growled, and the mirror shuddered. A pale, slender hand with two long fingers reached out from the darkness, breaking the barrier between worlds. Luna screamed, a sound choked with fear, and backed away. But I was paralyzed, unable to look away from that hand that now sought mine. "Come," the voice whispered, and I knew I had no choice. Something inside me snapped, and I reached out my hand toward the figure. Our fingers touched, and an unbearable chill ran through my body. The room distorted, the walls curved and the ceiling disappeared, replaced by a starry sky that did not belong to this world. We were in the abyss, Luna and I, and the figure was guiding us towards the stars. "You are now part of history," the voice said, and its laughter echoed into eternity. The abyss stretched before us, a vast canvas of darkness dotted with stars that followed no known constellation. The figure, our guide in this realm of shadows, led us through an invisible path that meandered among the stars. "Where are we?" asked Luna, her voice trembling but full of wonder. "In the place where stories are born and die," replied the voice, now a melody that seemed composed of 1,000 intertwined voices. "This is where fears become legends, and legends become reality." The figure stopped and pointed ahead. There, in the distance, rose a tower of light, a beacon that cut through the darkness like a sword. "That is the heart of the abyss," he said. "The place where you must take your story to join the others." Without knowing how, I understood what I had to do. I walked toward the tower, each step echoing in the void like an echo of my own existence. Luna followed me, her hand on my shoulder, a silent reminder that I was not alone on this journey. As we reached the base of the tower, the light intensified, revealing its walls covered with words and phrases, interwoven stories written by those who had come before us. With a gesture, the figure handed me a pen made of shadow and light, and I knew it was my turn to add my tale. I wrote about the mirror, about the voice, about Luna, and about me. I wrote about the fear I had felt and the curiosity that had led me there. And with each word, the tower glowed brighter, fueled by the new story that joined its eternal fabric. When I finished, the figure nodded approvingly. "You are now part of the abyss," he said. "Your story will live here forever, feeding the fears and dreams of those who dare to peer into the darkness." The light from the tower enveloped us, and I felt the abyss bring us back to our reality. We were back in the lobby, the mirror now quiet, as if it had never been more than a mere reflection. Luna and I looked at each other, knowing that what we had experienced would change our lives forever. We had touched the heart of terror and had come back to tell the tale.